We will see a simple example of constructor. Very simple example of constructor. So we will define one class, class name, class data. We will declare some variable over here as int a, float b, string some value. This is my class. This is just an example. So now we want to define a constructor. We want to initialize these values. The first one is the default constructor. So I will not write anything. I will create a main method, main class demo. I will write down a main method over here. I will create the object of this class data. We can see that we haven't written any constructor till now. We have not written an except method. We have not written any constructor to initialize these values. We will try to print these values. So we will write down one void display method. Display data. We will follow the rule of Java where if we are writing a method, the first word will be starting with a small letter and the second word will start with a capital letter. So we can see that display data, D is capital, display D is small. Now we will try to print these values. So I want to print the value A. I want to print the value of B and str. So we will print value B and the value str. We will try to compile and execute this code. Also, before running this code, we will call the display method. So d1.display, display data. We'll close the main and we will try to execute this code. So as we are using the default this editor, we are using online editor. We have to give the class name as public class main. So we will do that. Now I'll try to see, I'll show you the output. So you can see over here, the value printed for A is 0 because it is integer. Value printed for B is 0.0 because it is float. And value printed for str is null because it is string. So by default, I have not written any constructor still. A default constructor of JVM has been invoked over here. And we are getting the default values initialized to these variables, instance variables A, B and str. Now what we will do is we will try to write down the default constructor. We will write down user defined constructor, default constructor. So as I said that the constructor name and class name has to be same. So we will write down data because that is our class name. Constructor name will also be same. Now we will try to initialize the values of A, B and str. So I will say A equal to, I'll give some value over here 5. B equal to some default value as 10.5. And str equal to default value, maybe I will give as sakec, our college name. Yes. So again we will try to run our code and we will see now what values will get initialized for our A, B and str. So as this is float, we will write down f. Otherwise, it is a double. When we do not write down f, by default, any decimal point number is considered as double. And so we get this error as incompatible type, possible loss of conversion. So we are trying to convert a double value to float, which is not allowed. So we have to, by default, whenever we are writing any decimal point number, it is double. We want to store a float to b, so we have to write down f. We have to basically we have to write down 10.5 f. Now we will check what is getting initialized. So you can see that now our values initialized are 5, 10 and sakec Mumbai. These are the default values initialized for my variables a, b and str. Now what I'll do is I want to create the another object and call the display method. So I'm writing second constructor where I'll try to pass some values over here, as maybe I'll pass the values as 1, comma 2.5, comma I'll pass some string over here as maybe I'll pass college. This is my second object, so it is D2. I'll name it as D2 and I will call the display method for D2. Also, I can make little change to the display method so that I understand what is getting printed. So I will say integer value equal to, I want to print this message as it is on the screen, so it is within double quotes, and then I want to print the value of a. So integer value equal to whatever is the value of a will get printed. Decimal value equal to again I'll put this in double quotes and I want the value of b, and our string equal to and whatever is the value of str will get printed on the screen. So this is what I want to print. So some message before the value I want to print. Now we will see that now what I am passing over here, what is the constructor, the second object I am creating. I am passing three values over here. First is the integer, second is the decimal point number or float. This is my float. I have to write down f, otherwise it is double by default. And the third is the string. I will try to run my code and I can see that I got an error over here. What is the error? No arguments found, int float string. So whatever I am passing, I do not have a constructor matching these arguments. I have to have a constructor where I have the first argument as integer, the second argument as float and the third argument as string. So this is what I require. Because I am passing these values, I should have a constructor which is going to accept the first parameter as integer, the second as float and the third as string. So we will write down another constructor over here. Data, the constructor. I will be passing the parameters over here as maybe the first parameter as suppose P1, the second parameter as P2, and this third parameter is string, that is P3. I am passing these parameters and I want this to be initialized to A, B and C, str. So let us execute. Now you can see that when I am executing it again, now by default my values are, you can see the values, first object ka values are 5, 10.5 and Mumbai. For the second object my values are 1, 2.5 and college. So let us see. So we can see that for the second object I am passing over here 1, 2.5 and college. So that is getting initialized for my second object. Can we have only two constructors in the program? No. We can have any number of constructors. So for suppose I create another object and now I decided that I should have a constructor where I will be passing some value. I will pass only the string. So I will pass only my string. Some string I will pass over here. So this is my string. So for my third object, I am passing just the string. So let us again try to compile the code and let us see. Again we are getting the output, we are getting the error saying that actual parameter and it does not match, because one, we have two constructors with us. One constructor without any parameter, the second constructor with int, float and string. But now what do we require is, we require a constructor with only string. So obviously both my constructor, you can see that the first constructor, that is default, as well as the second constructor, that is int, float and string, does not work over here. So I require the third constructor over here. So for initializing my next constructor, again class name and constructor name is same. But I will be passing only single parameter, that is string. I am passing only single parameter. I will initialize A with some value. I am initializing A with 15. B with some value, maybe I am initializing it by 50.7. And I am initializing my third value, that is my string, with this value, single value what I have passed. So that is S. So again I will try to compile and execute. Okay. So I hope everyone understood why that error. Because it is, B is a float and I am trying to put a double in float, which is not allowed. So now you can see that I got the first values printed over here as first set of values as 5, 10 and Mumbai. That is my default values, because my first object is calling a default constructor. My second object is calling the constructor with 1, 2.5, F1, 2.5 and college. So my second values printed over here is 1, 2.5 and college. And my third constructor is passing only the Shah and Anchor college name. So here in the third constructor, my first value is 15, my second value is 50.7 and my third value is the string what I am passing, Shah and Anchor Kutch Engineering College. So whatever accordingly the constructor is getting invoked. So here exactly what we try to do is, we have written a constructor over here. When again I'll repeat, my class name and constructor name is same. My constructor does not have any return value, not even void. I have not written void over here. So there is no return value for my constructor. I can have a default constructor and parameterized constructor. Default where I do not pass any value. Parameterized constructor where I am passing the values. based on the type of constructor I am defining, when I create the object matching accordingly, the matching constructor get called. If I do not pass anything, the default constructor is getting called. If I pass three parameters, the constructor with three parameters with the order has to be same, and the parameters, the order has to be same, and number of parameters also have to be same. And when I'm passing the third and a constructor with one parameter, obviously the third parameter with single parameter is getting constructor with the single parameter is getting called. Now what we'll do is we'll create another constructor. So we have created another constructor D4. Now what we'll do is we'll pass again three values. First is the college name, second is an integer, and third is a decimal point value, so 12.5. And let us see what will happen. So we will get an error. Why? Because no such constructor, you can see over here, no such constructor is present. You can see this constructor is not allowed, because I do not, you can see that although I am passing three values over here, you can see I am passing only three values over here, but the order is I am passing string, integer and float. I do not have any constructor matching this order of parameter where I am passing string, integer and float. So it is giving me error. So that means what we have learned from this is the constructor, when I am creating the object, the number of parameters should be same, the type of parameters should be there, the type and order of the parameters have to be the same, defined in the class, as well as when I am making an object, the same similar type of constructor must be present in the class. So with this we complete our constructor.